What's up guys, it's Matt Collins Jones here, also known as the D365 Geek, and today we are talking about Power Automate. We're going to talk about Common Data Service or CDS triggers, and we're going to talk about the trigger, which is when a record is selected. When a record is selected, if you're from a Dynamics 365 background, is actually the same thing as running an on-demand workflow, meaning that you want to select a record or multiple records, click a button, and then it'll run a workflow for you. This is that same functionality, and this also allows you to manually trigger workflows or flows on records in the Common Data Service or Dynamics 365. So let's take a look at it today. I'm in Power Automate here, and I have my connectors up here. I've got the Common Data Service one right there. If I click on that, I get my 4 options, and the one at the bottom says when a record is selected. If we choose that one, we then get to choose the environment and the entity names like we usually do. It doesn't allow me to specify scope in here. That's the one difference between the other triggers. The other difference in the other triggers is that when I choose environment, I only get a single option. So the default is the same as the current environment for me. So the environment that I am currently in is this default environment. So that's one thing to know. You can't create one of these for a different environment from the one that you are in at the moment. It's always going to run in the context of the default or the current environment that you're in. Next, I can choose my entity. So I'm going to choose accounts, for instance. And this is a cool little thing which I didn't know existed until recently, which is you actually have the ability to add an input into this now. So previously, when you ran a on-demand workflow inside Dynamics, you would just essentially click it and it would run and it would do an action. Here, you actually have the ability to add an input. So before the flow will run, you can specify a user to add an input into it to then run the flow. That means this is more akin to a dialogue than it is to an on-demand workflow. So if I click add an input, I have some of the options that we usually get for the manual trigger flows that we use. So we have text, yes or no, file, email, number, and date. So in my instance, I'm just going to choose text. And I'm just going to put in something like name of account. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prompt the user to say I want the name of the account. Again, you have the same options that you usually do in the manual trigger flows in this one. So you have you can have these as drop-down options, multi-select drop-downs. You can also make the field optional or not. I'm just going to keep it like that for now. Then I can click new step. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to update a record. So I will choose my environment being my current environment, my entity being my accounts, and the record identifier, I'm going to choose the account from this previous step. Now in account name, I can use this this text input that I'm using here. So if I go into here and type name, if I could spell name of account, name of account. So you can see that this is perceiving this input here as to be part of this trigger itself. So if I click that into there, it looks like this is a CDS field, but it's technically not. It's one that we are creating in the middle of this flow. I would have expected that to be in a separate inputs area, but it's not. This is part of this trigger, and therefore it shows it as this name of account stuff here. So what I'm going to do is when we run this, it's going to pop up and say name of the account. We put text in, and it's going to update that account with that account name that we're putting into this text. So we'll save this, and then we will go and test it. So click on test. Right, this is the other thing. You can't trigger this as a test. The reason you can't trigger this as a test is because you actually have to go into a system and select it and run it. So you can't just like automate it by doing an action. The action is actually running it itself, so it doesn't allow you to trigger this for a test. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go into my accounts. We've got this test account down here. Now we can either go into the account like I've done now and choose from the command bar, go down to flow, and then we have our manual flows. We also have this option for create a flow or see flows, and we have our two ones that we have here, or we can also run this from this page as well. So if we click on the tick at the end, we can again go to here, go to flow, and then we have this CDS trigger. So if I click that, it's going to run the flow, and it says run flow, CDS trigger flow. I'm the owner, and it says name of the account. So I could put in Acme Inc. Into there, and we can click run the flow. It's going to say your flow run successfully started. To monitor, go to the flow runs page and click done. Now you'll notice that this doesn't update here in real time. So what we will do is if we deselect this, we can get the refresh button. We can refresh and we can now see that it's updated to be Acme Inc. If we go back to our flows, in here we could go and have a look. Yes, it's fine. We can go back and we can have a look at the flow runs, and we can see that it triggered. We have all this detail in the trigger to say, this is the body here to say, right, please put your text input in. We want the title of it's going to be name of account. It's a string. Then we're getting back some outputs, i.e. the account ID and some other headers. And then we can update the record with what we captured in there and put that in there. So this is much more like a dialogue than it is an on-demand workflow like we were previously used to, but nonetheless we still have that option to run flows directly on records, which will allow people to just mass update records. So this can be run on multiple records as well. It doesn't have to be a single record, and we've got all that great functionality that we have with on-demand workflows. So what did you guys think? Did you know that there was a option to add inputs? I didn't until recently, so this was news to me, and this is a very welcome addition to manual flows or flows when a record is selected. So I think I'll be using that a lot in projects going forward. But as always, I'd like to know what you guys think. What are you using this for? Did you know about this feature? Did you not? Is it something you're going to use going forward? I'd like to know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please like and please share it with your friends. It's always appreciated. If you've not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.